Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Okay, this next question comes from Cool Electronics. And it's in response to how to factory reset your Yamaha FB-01, a video I did in September 2017. And by the way, if you can hear something going, that's because it's raining. Anyway, Cool Electronics writes, "Hello my friend, how can I check the voltage of the battery on the FB-01 like on the DX-7? Is there a secret code to do this?" Now, if you don't know, on the DX-7, definitely on the 2, because that's the one I've got, but I suspect it still works the same on the 1. If you press the function key, then press key 14, it will tell you the voltage coming off the battery, and if that voltage is dropped below, say 2.8 volts, then you've got a problem. You probably need to think about changing the battery. It should be reading 3 volts, basically. And it was a really intriguing question, this, because I don't know the answer to this, and maybe somebody out there does know the answer to this. But what I did was I had a look through the service manual for the FB-01, and I cannot find any reference in the service manual to how to check the voltage of the battery in the FB-01. So in the DX-7 service manual, it's referenced, and as soon as both came out around the same time, if it's not referenced in the FB-01, it's either an omission or it doesn't do it. So I'm kind of inclined to say on this one that it doesn't do it, or I can't work out how to do it. I can't see in any of the menus how you would do it, so that's normal operation. And if I read the service manual, some of the hidden features, it's not being brought out as one of the hidden features that you might want to use. I mean, that's one of the things the service manual is the service manuals generally are quite good at, is they tell you things that are hidden, as in certain key presses when you switch the unit on, or certain key presses when the unit's it's on, or certain presses from a certain menu, and you get hidden menus and that sort of stuff. But I can't find any reference to being able to actually check the voltage on the battery in the FB-01. I have to be honest and say that I've found the FB-01 batteries last a long time. And the other beautiful thing about the FB-01, of course, is that it holds all the sounds in internal ROM. So when the battery does go kaput, it's a really simple thing. Well, I say simple, you've got to desolder the battery. So maybe that's another project you might want to take on, is to actually put a proper battery caddy in there. But when the battery does go kaput, it's relatively easy to effectively reload all the sounds. Of course, it won't load your custom sounds, so if you haven't got those backed up via SysX, you lose them. But as I say, the actual how to tell whether the battery is dying or not, I can't see how you do that. And I also can't see on the FB-01 where it tells you, like on the DX-7 it will flash up to say battery low. I can't see any functionality on the FB-01 to say battery low. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, just can't find it in the service manual. And I've never experienced it on my FB-01s. But then, having said that, I tend to, I think I've said this before, that for all my equipment I've got a spreadsheet, and in that spreadsheet it tells me the last date I changed the battery. And if I'm going to put the thing into long-term storage, which I very rarely do, most of my stuff goes in and out on a fairly frequent basis, but if I'm going to put something into long-term storage, I'll either pop the battery out of the board so I don't get any corrosion, or I'll actually put a brand new battery in just before it goes into storage, and therefore I know I've got 5 years or so. Anyway, I hope that answers your question. Next one comes from Sample82 in response to rebuilding the Roland R5 drum machine. Video I did in October 2020, and I still haven't got round to doing my changes to the R5. Possibly, in fact I know, the reason why I haven't done it is because, as you know, I am skint, and I know how much it's going to cost me to do this exercise. But basically, I won't recover the money on resale of the R5 if I do this, but I think it's a good exercise to do. So I'm kind of waiting for the coffers to start to fill up again, and then I will probably pursue that. I had a quote for what I want to do with it. Anyway, less of that, more of this question. I recently bought an R5 only to discover that the right hand channel does not work. Both the R output jack and the right hand channel on the phone's jack. So this might be a problem with the PCB, not the jacks. Any idea what could be the problem and how to fix it? So the bottom line is, in this situation, your right hand channel on the main output and your right hand channel on the phones is not working, which basically means it's not the it's going to be further back than the amplifier, if that makes sense, because the amplifier for the output and the amplifier for the phones are different, because obviously they work in at different levels. So in the phones you've got to have a level that will drive the speaker inside the earphones, and on the line output you're just putting out a line level signal. So you can kind of come back further in the circuitry to where the signal is generated, I suspect. And it's probably somewhere between the signal generation, if the signal generation is correct on the right hand channel, and those two circuits. So I'd be looking for capacitors and resistors between the two in those circuits. And I say I don't think it's going to be the op amp for either one or the other, although they could potentially be affecting each other. Say for example the op amp has gone to a point where it's operating some sort of straight through, and it would cancel out the signal on the right hand channel backing up through the circuitry. That could be a problem. I suspect it's not, but I suspect it could be a very simple fix. It could be just simple things like dry joints, in which case you need to get one of these things here and go over the board and see if you can find that, and then a soldering iron and some solder. Now be careful when you're using solder on some of these older pieces of equipment, by the way. So I have several sorts of solder here. I have for new stuff I'm soldering, and I have a certain type of solder, and for stuff where I'm repairing stuff I have the older solder that is leaded, because that was the solder that was used on the board. So unless you're going to take all the solder off and put new solder on, you might want to get the same solder. So you just need to think about that. As I say, it could be simple as something like a dry joint. It could be as simple as the capacitors, resistors and other pieces of circuitry have gone bang, but the only way you're going to tell that is really getting inside and tracing it all back. It's a laborious, methodical thing you have to do, but that's what repairing and bringing these things back to life is all about. So the only other thing I would say is, if it's dry joints, make sure you get a good supply of this stuff. Various names. This is called Topnic RF-800, which is basically liquid flux. Sells under various names, if I'm brutally honest. But that will, if you've got dry joints, put that stuff over the top of it before you reflow the solder, because that will make the solder reflow much easier, because that's what it's all about. So I'll put a link to that stuff below the video if you're at all interested. But you know, it could be something a bit more sinister. There could be one of the main chips could have gone wrong, at which point you're probably having to go and look for that chip on one of the market spaces. Some of the chips are readily available, some of them of course are not.